In the heart of a bustling metropolitan hub, tucked away in a cramped apartment that smelled of stale coffee and ambition, lived Elena and Marcus. Their home was a skeletal frame of a life, held together by Elena's unwavering resolve. As a nurse, she was the silent pulse of the municipal hospital, her days a blur of sterile corridors and heavy responsibility. Marcus, meanwhile, was an aspiring tech entrepreneur, a man who spoke in algorithms but possessed no capital. The morning frost matched the chill in their bank account. While Elena hurried out for the morning commute, Marcus remained in bed, his mind drifting toward a digital empire he hadn't yet built. He saw only the finish line. The financial weight of their lives rested entirely on Elena. To fund Marcus's mounting research costs, she took on grueling double shifts, trading her rest for his opportunity. She was the ghost of the household, her skin pale under hospital lights, while Marcus refined his prototype in their living room. He was a craftsman of manipulation, using sweet words to keep her motivated. She was the architect of his survival, the silent partner in a firm of one. He promised her a kingdom one day, casting himself as the visionary and her as the indispensable muse who kept him afloat. Her love was his currency. The turning point came when Marcus needed one final push to finalize his prototype for a major investor meeting. With their accounts empty, Elena made the ultimate betrayal of her own history. She took her grandmother's antique engagement ring, her only family heirloom, and sold it. The jeweler's loupe saw a diamond. Elena saw her childhood memories. The gold that represented her lineage was traded for circuit boards. Marcus accepted the money with a kiss, viewing her sacrifice not as a tragedy, but as a necessary investment. To him, the ring was merely a means to an end, a small price for her to pay. Success arrived with the suddenness of a lightning strike. Marcus secured the investment, catapulting him to celebrity status in the tech world. He celebrated the victory at an exclusive restaurant, but Elena was conspicuously absent. When she questioned him, he dismissed her concerns, claiming the dinner was strictly professional and that her presence would have been distracting. It was the first time she felt like a secret he was starting to hide. Marcus was moving into a new world, one where the woman who built him had no place at the table. As the months passed, the divide between them became a chasm. Marcus adopted designer suits and a circle of elite friends. He spoke of disruption and market caps, his voice carrying a sharp edge of arrogance. Elena continued to toil in her scrubs, wearing old clothes to save every penny for their future, still believing they were a team. She worked night shifts to keep them grounded, unaware that Marcus was already drifting into a stratosphere where she was no longer welcome. He was becoming a giant, and in his eyes she was shrinking. One rainy evening, while tidying their bedroom, Elena found a small, heavy velvet box in the pocket of Marcus's new Italian wool coat. Her heart raced with relief and joy. She thought this was the moment, the thank you gift, the acknowledgement of everything she had bled for. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Elena slowly opened the lid, expecting to see a replacement for her grandmother's ring. Instead, she found a dazzling diamond necklace. Her hands shook as she pulled out the receipt tucked inside. The name on the order wasn't Elena. It was a name she had never heard, written in a bold hand, signaling a betrayal that went far deeper than money. The realization crashed over her like a wave. While she had been funding his dreams, he had been dreaming of someone else. Marcus was now the public face of innovation, his silhouette gracing tech magazines. But inside their sterile luxury apartment, a space once filled with shared dreams, the silence was deafening. Elena had transitioned from the primary breadwinner to a quiet ghost in a gilded cage. He no longer looked at her with the eyes of a partner. To the world, he was a genius. To Elena, he was becoming a cold stranger who spoke only in calculated press releases. The physical toll of 5 years of exhaustion and double shifts finally caught up with her body. One evening, Elena collapsed on the cold marble floor of the kitchen, her body shivering with a fever. When Marcus returned home late, smelling of expensive whiskey and success, he didn't offer a hand. Instead, he sighed at her. He told her that her constant exhaustion was becoming a drain on his creative energy. He needed a muse, not a patient. Her illness was an inconvenience to his trajectory, a smudge on the polished image he was projecting to the world. The humiliation reached its peak at the tech gala. Elena had spent weeks sewing a dress from old fabric, trying to look the part of a CEO's wife. As they stood under the crystal chandeliers, Marcus moved with a predator's grace, shaking hands with the elite. When a potential partner asked who the woman at his side was, Marcus didn't hesitate. He introduced Elena as his assistant, an employee who helped with the early logistics. The words cut deeper than any physical wound. He was erasing their history, rewriting her role from the woman who saved him to the woman who merely filed his papers. Elena stood there, a silent witness to her own deletion. A few days later, while Marcus was away, Elena decided to tidy his home office, a space that had become a sanctuary she was rarely allowed to enter. Beneath some blueprints, she found a manila folder filled with confidential legal documents. As she turned the pages, the reality of his betrayal solidified. Marcus had been systematically siphoning funds from their joint accounts into private holdings. Even more chilling were the restructuring papers for the company. Her name, which had been on the partnership agreement, was gone. He had used a legal loophole to classify her initial financial contributions as personal loans rather than equity. When he returned, she confronted him with the documents. She didn't scream. She spoke with the hollow voice of a woman with nothing left to lose. She asked him why he was trying to erase her. Marcus didn't even look guilty. He poured himself a drink and told her that in the world of technology, there was no room for sentimentality. He told her that he had evolved while she had stayed stagnant. He accused her of lacking the vision to follow him into the future, claiming that she had stopped growing the moment the first check cleared. To him, her sacrifice was a stepping stone, and she was the dirt he had wiped off his boots. The evening air was thick with the scent of unkept promises. Their 5th anniversary arrived without celebration. This was the day Marcus had promised they would finally marry. Instead, he arrived home late with a lawyer's business card. He told her she had to leave. His brand required a partner who matched his status. The woman who had once been his anchor was now just a liability. He watched her from the doorway, cold and detached. City lights twinkled outside the glass, indifferent to the destruction of a long devotion. She was the ghost of a life he wanted to forget. As Elena packed her suitcase, a realization settled in her chest. Marcus hadn't just stolen her money, he built a legal fortress around his empire that left her with nothing. She was leaving with the same empty hands she had used to build his world, realizing she was now a stranger to the kingdom she paved with her blood and sweat. The door to the tiny studio apartment clicked shut with a hollow sound, echoing the void in Elena's chest. The walls were thin, and the single window looked onto a brick wall draped in a massive digital billboard. Every few minutes, the screen cycled, and Marcus's face illuminated her room in a cold neon blue glow. His airbrushed smile mocked her from a height of 40 feet. He was the visionary of the year, while she was a ghost in the shadow of the empire she had helped build. For weeks, Elena sat in silence, watching the world celebrate a man who was an empty vessel she had once filled with her own vitality. She felt discarded, like scaffolding torn down once the monument was finished. But in that quiet, a different clarity surfaced. Elena spent nights reviewing old files, the blueprints and financial structures she had crafted while Marcus practiced his speeches. She realized that while Marcus was the face, she was the architect. He understood the why, but she understood the how. She knew the flaws in the prototype she had funded with her grandmother's ring, flaws that Marcus had arrogantly ignored. He lacked the technical depth to fix the instability, and without her to bridge the gaps. His innovation was a ticking time bomb of logistical failure that only she knew how to diffuse. Elena didn't seek revenge through a lawyer, she sought it through the market. She walked into the headquarters of Marcus's fiercest competitor, a firm that valued data over celebrity. She didn't ask for a job, she offered a solution to the very problem Marcus was about to face. She became their secret weapon, a consultant who knew every weakness in the industry leader's armor. While Marcus attended red carpet events, Elena worked in the shadows, helping her new partners launch a product that was everything Marcus's was supposed to be: stable, honest, functional, and superior in every technical metric. The cracks in Marcus's empire soon widened. Without Elena to manage the back-end logistics, Marcus faltered. He missed production deadlines and couldn't explain technical glitches to his board. Investors realized the genius was incapable of solving basic crises without her guidance. His company's stock plummeted as news broke that his prototype was fundamentally flawed. The face of the company was beautiful, but the world finally saw that the brain had moved across the street. Marcus was exposed as a hollow icon in an expensive suit. A frantic knock sounded at Elena's new office door. Marcus stood there, looking years older, his expensive suit wrinkled. He didn't offer an apology, he begged. He told her the company was falling apart and that the board was threatening to oust him. He asked her to come back, promising her a massive title and a place by his side. He tried to use the same manipulative words from their early years, calling her his anchor once again, desperate for salvation. Eleanor felt only cold indifference. She reached into her desk and pulled out a personal check. It was for the value of her grandmother's ring, plus 5 years of interest. She slid it toward him. She told him that she had already fixed everything for his competitor. She explained that he could no longer afford her time because she had finally learned to value it herself. Marcus looked at the check as if it were a death warrant. He was left alone in his silence, a man who had traded his soul for a crown he couldn't wear. A week later, Elena walked into the pawn shop. She didn't hesitate when she saw the warm glint of the old diamond. She bought it back, sliding the heirloom onto her finger. It wasn't a symbol of a promise to a man, it was a testament to her own resilience. Standing tall, Elena looked at her reflection. She no longer worked double shifts for someone else's dream. She was the architect of her own life, having found that her most valuable asset was the strength to walk away.